Singulario Delea. Harmony group.
Wait, that's actually a great story. Oh my god. I was following her around. Yeah, wait, I'm trying to work it somewhere that has like really good.
I didn't do that.
Do Rex. I have to shoot it right now. Like my class is right below this, and there's no like stairwell. Yeah, upstairs except for that one over there.
You see, they announced the Anthology 4 album.
But I like put my
Well,
Anthology 4.
I asked him that.
Freaking excited.
I'm not really into them.
Today it's gonna be extra hard. Like,
So I
it's
assumed,
Friday,
but something about your apparel, I don't know why.
I don't know why I decided to be so extra.
I feel like junior year could not have had more morale than senior year.
I know.
And she made some awful choices.
I know.
And now I'm having to live the consequences.
Oh, hey, it says you know what it is.
And like, it's a long road. Probably gonna help me get into college. Probably not.
That's from the Spanish word.
Hey, German.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it's okay. It's okay.
It is okay with her.
I could be a
I actually don't know. AP German
Like,
is crazy.
Popular telling me with the AP German, I'm just.
AP German is actually crazy.
Oh my gosh.
I'm Brianna's friend.
Okay, guys. I am asking for the 2 assignments.
Yeah.
A
11 and 13. 11, I've asked you to finish up Thursday, Wednesday night, and 13 was the one I asked you to finish up yesterday, so. Please make sure your name is on each of those and come get that turned in for me to put in attendance. And then our first and main focus today will be finishing up assignment 12. So we started the notes on that 2 days ago, but we need to finish the notes and you need to actually practice the questions to make sure you can do them. And then the handout that you picked up, I'll have to give you some directions about it here near the end of class. But okay, has anybody seen my coffee cup? That was almost full. Okay, last call. Any others before they are considered late? Okay, so again, with our half period here, we're going to spend most, if not all the time on this assignment 12. And the handout you picked up on the way in is not numbered for you, but it's number 14. I am not expecting you to have all of that finished by Monday. I'm going to talk about what you should do between now and Monday, but we'll talk about that at the end of class. We need to focus in on this assignment 12 to make sure that we're getting that down. Okay. So assignment 12 was all about continuity. And again, we just barely started this one. I did not insist that you do any amount of this other than what we did together. But for continuity, there is a 3-part definition that you have to use. You can't just look at a graph and say, hey, there's a hole in it. That's a way to describe what the graph looks like. It's not describing mathematically why there's a discontinuity. So, sorry, this didn't show up right, but we talked about 3 things. For a point to be continuous at a point, it better be approaching the same number from the left and the right. What we call limit. Approach the same number from the left and from the right. If there's a hole there, it's discontinuous, so you need to make sure that the point exists. And just because the point exists, if it's way down here or way up here, and it needs to be plugged in there, then that makes it not continuous as well. So the third part is whatever it's approaching from the left and the right has to be equal to the point. So to prove something is continuous, we have to show those things are true. To prove something is not continuous, we just need to show one of those things is messed up. So, in just a few minutes, you're going to be practicing questions like we did here. Question 1A, the limit from the left was not the same as the limit from the right, so the first part of the definition was messed up, not continuous. And number 1B, the limit from the left equaled the limit from the right. The point existed, and the point was equal to the limit. I showed all 3 things, so yes, it is continuous. So, the yes, it is continuous is the answer, but the justification is all of this highlighted stuff. You need to get in the habit of doing that so that you just naturally do that on free response questions. Okay, the parts we did not talk about was 2, 3, and 4. So we've done a lot with piecewise functions already this year, so I think this is going to go okay for you. But I need to do a few examples for you anyway. So when I look at this, is this continuous? I have no idea. I don't know. I don't know what this piecewise function looks like in 2 seconds. Technically, I guess I could graph this. This is just 3x plus 1, and I would just keep this part of the graph. And this is like 1/2 x minus 1. Those are both pretty easy linear functions. They're both mx plus b. So I guess I could graph them, but a lot of times it's going to be something complex enough you don't want to waste your time graphing it anyway. So here's the part that you need to understand so that you're going to remember this process and not just memorize the steps and survive for a few weeks. You need to understand that this 3x plus 1 is continuous by himself. It's a linear function. There's no x in the denominator. He always exists. This guy is always continuous. Does that mean the function is continuous? Good. Not necessarily. So how come? If that part's continuous and that part's continuous, how would this not be continuous then? Perfect. So I'm not going to pretend like I'm graphing these, but imagine that the red function is something continuous like that, and the green function is something continuous like this. Is this as a whole continuous?
No.
So what could I do to maybe this green piece to make it continuous with the red piece?
Shift it up by somehow.
Okay, and specifically though, I could really care less about this part, right? What really matters is that right here, and again, this is the part that you need to understand so you know why we're doing the algebra we're about to do. I need these to connect. So when it stops being this top function at x is 4, and it starts being the bottom function at x is 4, so I need these two values to have the same y value. I don't care if they share the same y value any other time, but I need them to be in the same place at the same time when it stops being this function and starts being that function. So again, it's going to help you a lot if you understand that, and I'll say that one more time on the next question. But I need to make sure that 3x plus 1, what I'm approaching from the left, is the same as 1/2 x minus 1. But again, I don't care if they're the same. I don't care if they have the same y value usually. I need to make sure that they have the same y value when it's handing off from one to the next. I only care that they're the same when x is 4. So you plug in 4 into the left, you plug in 4 into the right. Those are not equal. So now we can kind of see. Again, I'm not going to graph these accurately at all, but if this guy is approaching 13, and as it gets closer to x is 4, and this guy's only approaching 1, he's way down here, there's something going on here. So at x equals 4, it's discontinuous. And if it's going from 13 to 1 at an instant, what type of discontinuity is that? Thank you. Jump. And I think even in here, I think most of my classes yesterday specifically asked, like, when would you get a jump? Because the assignment we practiced last time had lots of infinite discontinuities when you had vertical asymptotes and a lot of removable discontinuities when you had holes, and not so much jump. But this is an example of jump. If it's approaching 13 from the left and 1 from the right, they're not connected. They're not connecting, so it can't be continuous. So again, now this is a 3-piece piecewise function. So let me say the long part again, because this is how you're going to remember this, except for memorizing the steps, which isn't going to help you long term anyway. This guy is continuous. Polynomials are always continuous. This is just a linear function. He's continuous. And this is a horizontal function. Y equals a number is just a flat horizontal number. So this is when x is less than 1. So again, I'm not going to even try to make this look right. I don't care. It's a parabola. But it's continuous. And then there's a point at -1, 5. I don't know where that fits in my graph. And then when x is greater than -1, it's this. So for us to say that this function is continuous, we need to make sure that these are connected. We need to make sure that the limit from the left is the same as the limit from the right. I need these to be connected like this. And I need to make sure this point, what do I need to be sure about with the point?
It's
Right, so right now, if this is a function, there's a point here, which means there's not a point there. this isn't continuous, right? Because it's jumping at an instant. I need to make sure that this point is where it's supposed to be. So I'm going to check the limit as this approaches from the left and as this approaches from the right. Make sure they're the same number. That will check off the first part of the definition. The point already exists. I already see that right here. The second part of the definition is fine. And then the third part of the definition, I need to make sure that this is approaching 5 and this is approaching 5 because that's where the point is at y equals 5. All those things are true as continuous. If I figure out any of that's not true, I just need to figure that out, show it, and say it's not continuous. Okay, so I need to make sure that whatever the y value is for x squared plus 2x minus 1, that's what it's approaching from the left, is the same as x minus 1, which is what it's approaching from the right. But I could care less if they normally have the same y values, but I need to make sure they have the same y values when it stops being the top function and starts being the middle function, which is at x equals -1. So 1 plus 2 would be 3, minus 1 would be 2, -1, wait, that's not right. 1 minus 2 is -1, minus 1 is -2, and this is -2. So what is this algebra here? What did I just show?
Left and right limits are equal.
Okay, so mathematically we need to be in the habit of this. The limit from the left equaled the limit from the right, and I have sneakily made a mistake there because I want you to see if you can find that.
So f of x instead of g of x.
Right, this is g of x, not f of x. So sometimes you could have a question that has a f of x, a g of x, and an h of x. So you gotta be careful that you're using the right one. Okay, but just because the limit from the left equals the limit from the right is not enough to prove continuity. I also need to say that at x equals 1, there's a point, he exists. And the third part of the definition says the limit's supposed to be equal to the point. Well, what was the limit? Okay, so the limit as x approaches -1 of g of x was -2, but the point g of -5 or g of -1 was 5. Those are not the same. The point's not in the right spot. It's supposed to be at -2 if you want it to all connect. That point is randomly up at 5 for that instant. Okay, I want to show you one more thing with this. Actually, not this one. Well, maybe this one. I don't remember. Let me check real fast. Okay, it's not that one. It's a different one. I want to show that. Okay, so this is the only justification I need. I showed what part of the definition's messed up. And so visually what's happening here is I've got this red function that's continuous. Red function's continuous, approaches -2 from the left. I had this that was continuous and approached -2 from the right, but that point was not at -2, it was way up here at 5. So what type of discontinuity is that? It's removable. The whole function's not jumping, it's just a hole. Whether the hole is here and there's no point, or if the hole is here and the point's in the wrong spot. Either way, this is called removable. Don't call it hole discontinuity, call it removable discontinuity. Hole discontinuity is not a thing. It's not a math term. Okay, so to me, those two questions are basically the same process at least. Anything that quickly jumps out at you about those two that you want to clear up? Okay. Then one other type of question I need to make you aware of, and this is good for preparing for your AP exam, because for our AP exam, unfortunately, College Board doesn't just say like, hey, I know you did 50 of these, show us you can do it on the AP exam. A lot of the times it's like, you're supposed to know the definition of continuity, and if you really know that and you really can work with piecewise functions, here's a question you've never thought about before. So it's the same skill, but you maybe didn't get to practice applying it the same way a lot of times. So we've got a function h. What value of k would make h continuous? So k is actually just a number. K is just going to be a constant. And this isn't supposed to be guess and check. You're not just guessing 1 and seeing if it works and guessing 10 and see if it works. I guess if this was a multiple choice question, you could do that. It's not very efficient, but it would work. So what you have to understand is still start it the same way. And don't be intimidated that they're putting a little bit of a twist on the question, this plus k. Just like the last couple questions, if I want this to be continuous, I need to make sure this top piece that is continuous is the same as the bottom function, which is continuous, specifically at -2. I don't care if they're the same all the time. I care that they're in the same y value when it stops being the top function and starts being the bottom function. So we temporarily plug in -2 here, and we get that. Bless you. And again, you can't just expect to read the question and say, oh yeah, I'm just going to do this, this, and this, and I'm going to have the answer. You got to start somewhere. So I knew that the limit from the left had to be the same as the limit from the right, so I set them equal to each other. And I need that to be true at x equals -2, so I set that, plug that in, and then all of a sudden I'm left with something that is, you know, not so scary at least. K would have to be 6 for that to work. So even though you read that and you say, what in the world is it talking about? How am I supposed to know what K has to be? Just proceed as normal, leave it K, and when you get near the end of the question, it's going to be obvious what you need to do with it. Now, just from a test taking strategy as well, let's say you took a test or you took the AP test and you have an extra 10 or 15 minutes, you could then force yourself to plug in a 6 here, and you could just test it like the last two questions. This approaches -2 at -2, and if K is 6, this approaches -2 at what? Hopefully not 2, -2. And that's good. I needed those to be the same. So it's not that hard to plug it in and then check, is all I'm saying. Maybe not do that your first go around, but with extra time, that's the type of way that you could check that. Okay, so again, 7th period always feels like a rush here. But on this page, this question 1 is really 2 parts. It's asking you, is it continuous at -1, comma, is it continuous at 2? So, start with the definition. If you need to know if it's continuous at -1, compare the limit from the left with the limit from the right. If that's not true, stop and say it's not continuous. If it is true, tell me that there's a point that exists. When x equals -1, y equals 1/3. You need to show that it exists. And then if the limit equals the point, say that and say it's continuous. If it doesn't equal the point, say that and say it's not continuous. And then do the same thing for x equals 2. And I think this is the one. Let me check. There's one. No, it's not this one. Actually, this is one. I want to just kind of give you guys a calculator tip as well, but it's fine. Just keep going. Just keep working. I'll interrupt you in a second to just show you that your calculator can do something. So if you want to practice it and be able to use it, you can. Okay, does anybody need more time for this question? Because I'm going to spoil the answer. I don't want to rush you if you're still working. Okay, did you think it was continuous at -1? Did you think it was continuous at 2? Okay, if you were to graph it, which not what you should rely on, but if you graphed it, it looks like this. And I did it in 3 parts. Hold on a second. I did it in 3 parts, 3 colors. So you said it was continuous at -1 because you figured out that the limit from the left equals the limit from the right, and there's a point, and the point's equal to the limit, right? But in part 2 at x equals 2, you figured out the limit from the left is not equal to the limit from the right. Correct? So that's really easy to pull from a graph. It takes you a few steps to do it with algebra. Now, what I wanted to show you about this you can graph piecewise functions in your calculator if you know how. So I'm not telling you to do this because you'll probably need to do this without a calculator on the test. Could be on the AP exam as well. But notice that question, I graphed top piece, middle piece, bottom piece. The way you, if you're interested, the way you tell your calculator to only graph part of a graph though, is you have to do divided by, and then in parentheses the inequality. So my calculator knew to graph this, but it only kept the part that I wanted. And it only graphed this, but it only kept those 2 parts that I wanted. And it graphed a 3rd piece, and it only kept that part that I wanted. So if you're interested in doing that, practice it. And then when you use a calculator and you hit graph, this should match up with what you just did. That's what y'all told me. Continuous here, not continuous here. Gives you a nice quick little visual. But if you never practice using your calculator that way, you're not going to remember that. So just a suggestion. Yeah. If it's after 10 minutes, you don't have to ask.
Oh.
I trust you. Okay, that's all I want you to be aware of. The calculator technically can graph piecewise functions. You just have to know kind of how to type it in. The one time where that's kind of a lie is I think if you update your calculator enough, so to update your calculator, if you can like find the cord when you bought your calculator and connect it to your computer and you download a program called PI Connect and you download the newest operating system, the newest, I feel like we had a teacher here, Mr. Robinson, he loved calculator stuff. I feel like I'm turning into him. But it adds this piecewise and you can tell it how many pieces. Okay, well, I didn't say I was good at it. I've legit done this one time ever, so 3 pieces. Okay, there you go. And then you see how it gives you like the little skeletons, and you can just like move the mouse around or move your cursor around. So if you're willing to figure out how to update your calculator, you can also do that, and then that's a little bit easier too. But not necessary, but I know some of you guys like the technology stuff. And it does kind of help you get a visual to what you're doing on this assignment. So. And I'll even graph the next question just to have a visual on the board to hopefully show you that your approach in your algebra was correct or not correct.
This here can also be rewritten as b to the z.
Okay, so as you finish up question 2, I graphed the piecewise function in my calculator. So hopefully your work is looking the same. It looks like the limit from the left to the right is 0. Looks like the point is 0, so it's looking like you should say that it's continuous. But I'm just trying to give you a visual to what your algebra is showing you and trying to tell you. You have to say all 3 if it's yes. If it's no, you can stop as soon as you show up.
I had gone to
Okay, so, well, if you know 3, you know 2. So at -1, this is what I was saying, it's exactly what x is 1.
I got 0.
So if you plug that in here, you get a third. I didn't realize that x equals -1, you get y is a third. So you just need to say 3/5. And then you need that for the third part, because you can run this actually. This is saying y equals x. So x equals 1 and 1.
Oh.
So wait, is that not continuous? Okay. I lied to you. Here's a good limitation of the calculator. Even though I graphed this, you shouldn't have said number 2 is continuous, right? Right, because at this point, x equals 1, what is y?
1.
So there's a point right here, but if it's only for an instant, your calculator doesn't do a good job of like plotting a point here for you. What's happening is it's happening around the pixels. Nothing to the left of it is supposed to be plotted, nothing to the right is supposed to be plotted, so it's guessing that it's better to not plot that than it is to plot that. So
Zoom in enough will it show you, or is it just not?
that's a good question. I don't know.
I think the same principle should apply of being.
Now see, if you do trace and you move it around, or if you hit 1 enter, you can see it jumps up and it knows there's a point there. It just doesn't do a good job of showing the point. So that's another reason why you wouldn't rely totally on your calculator, but sorry. That one you should have done by Monday. But not today's handout. You won't need to have that done. This thing is Monday.
It's just like somebody's made it.
No, I'm glad.
But useless. Like actual drop of it's not true. The entire
Well, what's the limit? -1 to the left is a third. -1 to the right is also a third. Okay. So okay, you're saying those are equal. You're saying okay, go to this. You're saying this is a third. But down here, you're saying those are equal. Oh wait. You're right. I'm sorry. So that's fine. The limit is a third. The point is a, well, I would say the one thing you need to add, don't just tell me that the limit's a third. Tell me that the limit is a third. So say that equals f of -1. But then I'm really interested in you need to point to the limit. Okay. Not necessarily. Yeah.
You put the inequality in the piecewise function. They have to be close.
So what's the first part of the inequality you're trying to type in?
Well, if I just want to do like x is Wait a minute.
So it goes second math. Here's the
Yeah, like that. So, when it says justify your answer, do you need to go through the 1, 2, and 3?
You gotta use the definition. If you're saying it's yes, I should see that you showed me the limit exists, the point exists, and the limit is equal to the point. If you think it's no, you just need to show me which part's messed up.
Okay, so then I would say, limit as x approaches 1. Do all that.
Is the limit not the same?
Well, for x is -1, it is.
Okay.
So do I just put that?
Well,
That
you're
would-
telling me the limit
yeah.
from the left is equal to the limit from the right?
Yeah, for -1.
Oh, okay, I thought you were done with that one. Okay, so you showed me the first step.
I'm just asking how do I justify it?
That's the first step.
And then
And then the second step, you need to tell me that f of
-1
exists.
exists.
Okay. And then f of -1 is,
-1 is limit of f of x as x approaches -1.
that's fine.
Okay. And then for if it's no, I just say removable discontinuity.
Now you need to tell me which thing's messed up.
Okay.
So like if this wasn't true, you would say the same thing, but say it does not. Or if this is not true, tell me that it does not exist.
It's not
Or if that's not true, just tell me that it does not. Okay, that's fine. As long as that's true, that's a perfect
Gotcha.
Yeah, we have to live and die by the definition because that's the only foolproof way to get all of it. Going okay? Anybody, I can come over and try to help for a couple minutes, get you on the right track.
This. So I got one for that.
Like the turn panel.
I didn't.
This is saying y equals 3. So that's just the graph where y is always 3.
There's a whole.
So it's a horizontal line. And I have a visual back here as well. Which y equals 5. 5 is a constant. It doesn't change because there's no x's. Constant functions are always straight. This is flat.
But what happens if it's inequality?
With this one.
It's an inequality.
And then, I mean, it says like.
Oh, well, it's only y equals 3 when x is greater than 1. So it's like the graph. Here's x equals 1. So it's describing when x is greater than 1, this. But this other stuff is the rest of the piecewise function. But that last part is just describing that. The graph y equals 3, but only when x is greater than 1.
And how do I like solve it? And like I can't plug it in.
Well, what step of the definition are you trying to do? Have you figured out that the limits are the same now?
For this one and that one.
Okay.
But
Okay, it's good. So at -1, it approaches the same thing from the left and the right. That sounds good.
yeah.
Okay, is there a point of x equals -1?
Yes, right here.
Okay, so you need to say that. F of -1 exists. That's checking off the second part of the definition. And then, so the point's at 3 and the limit's at what? -1? That's a problem. Since it's approaching -1, it's approaching -1, but at that instance, the point's way up here at 3. That's a break in the graph. So your explanation for why it's not continuous just needs to say the limit does not equal f of -1.
Those aren't the same. They are supposed to be the same and they're not.
Are you signed up in Google Classroom for 7th period? Can you double check? Because I think I saw you.
Better internet than 5G.
You are.
Are you also in the second period?
No.
Okay. That must have been a mistake from earlier this year. This morning, I have a second period AD class. And I was doing Go Guardian, and some people were in the wrong spot, so I think I locked it from for a second. Thing is, you weren't on task, but you weren't in that class, so then I unlocked it, so I apologize
No.
if that messed it up. I don't know how that happened.
Okay, guys, we are down to just a few minutes. So let me tell you what I need from you. So, I don't plan on giving you any more class time for assignment 12. So I'm not going to take up 12 on Monday, but realistically, you should do this and have it done by Monday. Don't just keep kicking the can down the road. The handout you picked up on the way in, assignment 14, you don't have to do any of that before Monday if you don't want to. But we've got our first quiz coming up. It's not Monday. It's at the end of the week, Thursday, Friday. So if you're starting to feel like there's more and more things that you don't feel ready to test on, you should probably do some of this. If you're feeling really overwhelmed, the best thing you can do is do all of the review. That's going to provide the most chances for you to know what you're struggling with and give me more time to help you. The longer you wait to do the review, the less time there's going to be for me to help. It'll probably be half and half. I'll give you like part of it on 8A and part of it on B. Unless it's short enough, and then in that case, I would let you do it the second day. Whatever makes it comparable to you. So what I would do is all of this, and then plug in 2 for Ed. Yeah, and then that should give you an equation. Necessarily.
And then we have
So like we're basically done with school. So like basically we're graduating. I just need it's all light from here.
It's fine if they're both 0.
Like this is like all the
Sorry, here's the yonder magnet if you need it.